So we are going to be talking about telling time. How many of you at home have an analog clock, the one I just showed you, like this? How many of you have one of these at home?
I do.
You can actually see and look at. I see.
I do.
Oh, good, Robert.
I have one in my room.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I do.
August, good.
Same. I have one in my room. I have one right next to me right now. We have a clock at home.
Okay. All right. So this is the old-fashioned way of telling time. Most of us digital clocks. So I'm going to ask you to mute. Most of us see time like on our phones, right? So there's the time, 2:19. It makes it really easy to not learn how to tell time because of technology. But it is an important skill because not everything, you're going to see clocks like this in our classroom all of the time. And to understand time, to be able to know how long you have before your next Zoom meeting. Do you have time to go run around in your yard before you get back on with Mrs. Aubin? Time is a part of our everyday life, right? So I'm going to share our learning target, which we kind of already discussed. We are going to tell and write time to the minute, to the quarter hour, half hour, an hour. And the reason is because we want to be able to solve real world math problems that involve telling time. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, not to yell out. When do you need to know what time it is or how long you have until a certain activity? I know everybody's hand's going to go up on this one. Reese, can you give me an example?
How long until your Zoom meeting?
Yeah, especially now that we're learning remotely. That's a big responsibility for you guys. And you might want to even think pre-COVID. Astria, give me another example.
Of how much time you're going to spend on this project. How much time you want to spend on this project.
I love it, because maybe you're going to have to go to dance class, or maybe you'll have dinner and you only have X amount of time, right, to spend on your project. That's great. How many of you just, oh, Marin, go ahead. Let's hear from you. And then we'll hear from Serne.
How long till you have to go to bed?
Oh, yeah. So do you have time to play a game with your brother, right? That would be good to know. How about you, Serne?
How long until you have to get off of the electronics, because that's what we have at home.
Yeah, I know we had that at my house when my kids were young. You only got a certain amount of screen time because I didn't think it was healthy to be on the screen so long. So we limited our screen time. So you want to manage your time. Those are great examples. A lot of us before COVID had very busy schedules. You might have been part of the stage door theater and dance and soccer or football, or I don't know if you're still able to do those. I know a lot of those have been canceled for my kids, but back in the time we had piano at 5:15. How much time till we have to leave to get there? How long does it take? Time is a huge part of our daily lives. All right, so today you're going to be able to read and write time to the hour, half hour, quarter hour, and 5 minutes, and describe it in different ways. There's more than one way to say the time. Right now I'm looking at the clock and I would say it's 2:22, but I could also say it's 22 minutes after 2. All right, there's more than one way of saying it. And then we want to be able to read and write time to 5 minutes and 1 minute. We are going to get right to it today. We're going to skip the review because there's a lot to cover. So sit back and enjoy this quick video to get your brain thinking about time.
Talent shows today. I can't wait to see Becca's magic show. What time does it start? How can you skip count minutes and clocks? Remember, a clock has a little hour hand and a longer minute hand. As the minute hand goes around, the hour hand moves from one number to the next. It takes 60 minutes, or 1 hour, for the minute hand to go all the way around. It takes the minute hand 5 minutes to move from one number to the next. So you can skip count by 5 to count the minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Talent show is going to be fun. Time to the nearest 5 minutes. Hour hand is on the 9, and the minute hand is on the 2. Skip count the minutes by 5 until you get to the 2. 5, 10. So it's 10 minutes past 9 o'clock. Becca's magic show begins at 9:10. What time does Tasha do her juggling trick? The hour hand is between 10 and 11, so you know it's after 10 o'clock, but before 11 o'clock. The minute hand is on the 5. Skip count the minutes by 5 until you get to the 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it's 25 minutes past 10 o'clock. Tasha performs her juggling trick at 10:25. What time does Dell do his throwing dance? Hour hand is between the 11 and 12. The minute hand is on the 7. I know that when the minute hand is on the 6, it's 30 minutes past the hour. So if the minute hand is on the 7, it's 5 more minutes past that. 35. Dell's performing his throwing dance at 11:35. What time is it now, Moby? How do you tell time to the minute? Let's see. The hour hand is a little bit past the 8. Where's the minute hand? I know that when the minute hand is on the 3, it is 15 minutes past the hour, but the minute hand is actually 2 minutes past the number. So I can start at 15 and count on 2 minutes. 16, 17. So the time is 8:17. What time does this clock show? The hour hand is between the 5 and 6. Where is the minute hand? When the minute hand is on the 7, it is 35 minutes past the hour. But the minute hand is actually 3 minutes past the number. So start at 35 and count on 3 minutes. 36, 37, 38. This clock shows 5:38. What time does that clock show? The hour hand is between the 7 and 8, but it's much closer to the 8. Where's the minute hand? When the minute hand is on the 10, it's 50 minutes past the hour. But the minute hand is 4 minutes past the number, or 1 minute before the next number. When the minute hand is on the 11, it is 55 minutes past the hour. So you can start at 55 and count back 1 minute. 54. This clock shows 7:54. Let's see. You're doing a balancing act at 1:20. What are you going to balance, Moby? Whoa.
Moby died.
Okay.
It's supposed to be funny, but it's violence.
Okay, so I have an interactive clock that we can access. It's on the slideshow that you guys are welcome to use. I just kind of wanted to show it to you. So when we are solving problems, this is a good tool to use to help you. So just like we heard about in the video, you have an hour hand, which it's red here, and then the minute hand, which is longer and is the blue hand on this clock. When you are trying to tell time, you first want to look at that hour hand. Where is the hour hand? Now, it'd be really nice if it was always on the number like this, right? If it were always like this, like we learned in first grade, we all know what time that is. You look at the, whoopsie, you look at the hour hand and you see it's directly on that 9, and the minute hand is on the 12, which tells you it's 12 o'clock, right? So that's not too difficult. You can do that with any of the times if it's directly, if that hour hand is directly on a number, you know that it's going to be on the hour or o'clock, like 11 o'clock. So if I lock, see, I think you can lock it. If I lock that minute hand, then I can move this one and show you what I mean. So 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You all learned that a long time ago. Then last year, you learned a little bit more about telling time. So let's try this. If I put that hour hand halfway between the 7 and the 8, and I move this minute hand halfway around the face of the clock, now what time is it? Evie, what time would it be now? It's not 7 o'clock anymore. It's what?
7:30.
7:30. Because when you start at the 12, and what happens, let's unlock this. What happens when, all right, when it's 7 o'clock and then time passes, we're going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Not only does that whoopsie. So the other one I had was a little better. Not only does the minute hand move, but that hour hand moves as well. And it ends up halfway between the 7 and the 8, because thinking about fractions, half of the clock, right? If you were to cut this clock in half, you know there's 60 minutes in a full hour. What's half of 60, Jensen?
30.
30, right? So let's lock our minute hand. Whoopsie. We're going to keep that lock, and let's unlock our hour hand. Why does it not like me? If I move this to here, Josh Carter, what time is it now? We're halfway between the hours 10 and 11.
10:30.
Very good. How did you know?
Because the 6 is birdie, and it's called, it is next to the 10.
It is halfway between, right? Keep in mind, this hour hand's going to keep moving before it's 11 o'clock. But until it gets to that 11, you're still in that 10 o'clock hour. So even though it might look like it's closer to the 11 than the 10, if it's not directly on the 11 or past the 11, it's still in that 10 o'clock hour. So you can see this little space here. From here, Evie, eyes up here, please. Evie, I want your eyes, whole body listening. From here, all the way to there is still in the 10 o'clock hour. Okay, so for example, if that was where the hour hand was, here, I'll move it. Let's see, lock this one. Okay, now let's move the, what time would that be? Boy, that's tricky. Are we in the 10 o'clock hour or the 11 o'clock hour? Gabe, what do you think? It's not on the 11 yet.
I think we're in the 10 o'clock.
You're right. We're still in that 10 o'clock, even though it's so close. Like it'd probably even be more like this. But how many minutes after 10 o'clock would that be? How many minutes after 10 o'clock? Elena, what are you thinking? Couldn't quite hear you. You want to count with me, Elena? Let's count. Let's start at the 12. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Wow. Because if there's 60 minutes in an hour, and that's 5 less than 60, it must be 10:55. Or you could say 55 minutes after 10. Or does anyone have another way of saying that time? Henry, did you have your hand up? No? Lila.
So, another way of saying that time is 10, 1/4, and 15 minutes.
Not quite. We'll talk about quarters here in a minute. How many minutes until, what's the next hour gonna be, Lila?
11.
11. How many more minutes until it's 11? Do you know?
5.
5. So it could be 5 minutes till 11, because look what happens. Now, what time is it? 11.
11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each one, like in the video, each one of these lines represents a minute. And how many are there, Henry, in the whole hour?
60.
There's 60. So thinking about our multiplication that we started in August, we started with skip counting by 5s. This is perfect. We already know how to count by 1s, but counting by 5s is going to be very useful. All right, so this is an interactive clock that you guys can use. It's on our slideshow that will help you with some of your work. We're going to turn to page 179, and we're going to look at some of these analog clocks and see if we can tell what time it is on these clocks. Then we will write it digitally below it, and we'll talk about how we could say it. All right, so let's look at the first one. Looks pretty easy. And I want to just, it looks a little blurry on my end, but the thicker hand, that one that's wider or bolder, I guess I could say, is your hour hand. I wish they would have made it a little easier to tell. The skinnier, thin one is your minute hand. It's longer, but not by much. It should be a lot longer. It just doesn't look much longer on there. So let's look at the first clock. Charlie Carr, what is the hour hand pointing to?
9.
It's pointing to the 9. So we know we're in the 9 o'clock hour. So we'll put a 9 there. And then what is the minute hand pointing to?
12.
What?
12. So we would write o'clock, right? 2 zeros, because it's the minutes are, how many minutes are past? How many minutes have passed? Sorry, I don't know what happened. The hour. So I'm going to go back. Oh, I know what I did. I am not. There we go. Now it'll let me do it. So you should have written 9 o'clock. And how would we write that? You would just write 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Number 2. Let's hear from Robert. What is that hour hand pointing to? 11. And because the minute hand is on the 12 and no minutes have passed that hour, what would we write in the minute section? 11 what? Robert?
11 o'clock.
Right, so if I were to write that in words, it would look like this, 11 o'clock. Okay, number 3, this should be a review for you from long ago. How about Josh Lewis? Would you be willing to share? You don't have to if you don't want to. All right, how about, let's see. How about Haley Calendar?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. And then last but not least, looking at number 4, I'm going to pull out of my handy dandy can, Sawyer. Sawyer Jensen?
Well, I see
No?
he doesn't have, oh, there he is.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. All right. So it looks like you guys have got that. Let me see if I can move this. 6 o'clock. Now, we are going to go down to number 5. The times are not quite as easy, right? When we talked with Lila, she was experimenting with 15 minutes. So I'm just going to draw for you. If I take the face of the clock and divide it up, I think a pizza or a cookie, and I divide it into fourths, and I have 5, 10, 15 minutes here. What do you think I'm going to have in the next section, Marin? If this section's 15 minutes, what do you think is going to be for the next section?
15.
And the next?
Hey. 15.
And the next?
15.
Right, and if you add 15 4 times, what do you think you're going to get, Marin? How many minutes altogether? You already know this. You don't have to do the math, right?
60.
Yeah, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. But if I know 15 plus 15 is 30, because we know half of the clock, if it's half past the hour, you know that it's going to be 30 minutes after the hour. You also have 30 minutes over here. So when you think about how these minutes are divided up, it'll help you with filling time. So I wanted you to kind of see that connections to fractions, and maybe that would help you. So looking at this clock, this is tricky. Let's look at the hour hand first. It's thick. It's between the 8 and the 9. Remember what I said, when it's between those two numbers, it's always going to still be in the number before it. It's in the 8 o'clock hour. It is not yet in the 9 o'clock hour. It hasn't hit there yet, even though it's super duper close. Now, to find the minutes, here's what I want you to do. You already have the hour. It's in the 8 o'clock hour. Start at the 12. Now we're going to count by 5s till we get to where that minute hand is. Here we go. Count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Some of you already knew that was 30. 35, 40, 45. So now we know the time on the clock is 8:45. If you get confused on telling time, I want you to follow these 2 steps. First, look at where the hour hand is first. Write your hour. Then start at the 12, count by 5s. You might have to count by 1s as well, or add on your 1s until you get to that minute hand. That will be your minutes after the hour. So I could write this a couple of ways. Who can tell me the time? One way to tell the time. Let's pull out of the can. How about Abby. What time is it?
Abby is not here at the moment.
Okay. How about Elena Baugh? I saw her for sure.
She is here.
Elena? All right. Cole is not here. Sunny Poe.
6:30.
Well, we have an 8 in the hour spot. When the
6:30.
But how many minutes do we see here? I think you're on number 6. We're still on number 5. It should be 8:45. That's one way of saying it. I can also say 45 minutes after 8. And I'm going to abbreviate. I'm going to do min. 45 minutes after 8, and I'm going to write the number because I'm running out of room. But also, I could write it, when we talked about dividing this up into fourths, this is 1/4 of the whole. We sometimes call that a quarter because think how many quarters are in a dollar. There's 4, right? 4 quarters in a dollar, 4 25s in 100. So it's like a quarter, a fourth. This is 1/4 of the clock or a quarter. So I could say 8:45. You might hear your parents say that, 8:45. It's 8:45, 45 minutes after 8, 8:45. Okay, Sunny, you were right. You said for number 6, the time was, go ahead and repeat it.
6:30.
Excellent. Looking at that hour hand, it's halfway between the 6 and the 7, so you know it's in the 6 o'clock hour. Starting at the 12, counting by 5s till you get to that minute hand. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Sunny, can you unmute and tell me another way besides 6:30 that you could read that time?
6. 3. 6. Wait. 30.
Yes, go with that.
30:06.
30 minutes after what?
6.
Yeah, that would work. Have you ever heard your parents say half past the hour or half past 6? Because think, you're halfway around the clock. You're halfway through the hour.
Sure have.
Have you? Awesome. You can say it that way too. Oh, it's 6:30. And now you guys will know what that means. Well, that must mean 6:30. All right, we're going to do 2 more on this page, and we're going to move on. Looking at number 7, is Lyric here?
Yes.
Miss Lyric, can you tell me what time it is?
It's, wait, which question are we on?
Number 7.
Okay. 3:03.
Okay, so I see what you've done. You did the same thing for the minutes as you did for the hour, which is a common mistake. And I'm so glad you did it so we can talk about it. So you looked at the hour hand and you saw it was pointing to the 3. So you knew that was the hour. The problem is the minutes don't work the same way as the hours do. So you have to remember that second step. When it comes to the minutes, think about where that is. Does that look like only 3 of these minutes have gone by? I hope you're shaking no. I see some of you shaking your head no. You have to start at the 12 and count how many of those little tick marks there are between the 12 and the 3. So we're going to count, but because we know the clock is divided into segments of 5 minutes, we're just going to count by 5. So count with me, Lyric. Can you unmute and count with me? 5,
10,
10.
15,
So what time is it?
3:15.
3:15. Or you could say 15 minutes after 3. Or you want to get real fancy, you could say a quarter after 3. I bet you've heard your parents say that because it's a fourth of the clock. Quarter after 3. 45 minutes till 4 because there's 45 more minutes before it's going to be 4 o'clock.
My parents taught me
There's
quarters.
There are many ways to say the name of the time, more than one, and that's pretty much what I'm just trying to show you. You can say it in many ways. All right, let's do number 8, and then we'll move on to the next page. Who is willing to do this one? How about, I'm almost out of sticks. Marin, you're my last one. If you're confused, I would love to walk through it with you, Marin. Let's look at the hour hand. It's between the 2 and the 3. So Marin, are we going to say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock hour? She here?
She was.
She was here.
She was.
All right, August. Would we say the 2 o'clock hour or the 3 o'clock hour?
Yeah, so number 8 is 2:45.
We would say the 2 o'clock hour.
Excellent. It's not quite on the 3 yet, is it? See, it's close, but always go to the number before because you're still in that hour.
It's still in the second to last line.
Very good. All right, August, do you know the minutes? Should we count?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
5,
10,
10,
15, 20,
20, 25, count with me, 30, 35,
35,
40,
45.
45.
So the answer is 2:45.
Excellent. Is there anyone who can come up with another way to read that time? I go through and see who my mathematicians are that love telling time. It looks like everybody's working really hard.
They do appear to be.
I have an answer.
I'd love to hear it. Go for it.
A quarter after 2.
Oh, you're close. That would work for 2:15, but because it's 45 minutes after 2, we could say 45 minutes after 2 or a quarter till 3. Because remember, a quarter is only a fourth of the clock. So
Or you could say 3/4.
I've never heard anyone say it that way. I understand your thinking, and that is true. There are 3/4 of the clock that have gone by.
45 minutes past 2.
Was that Josh?
Yeah.
Do you want to say it again, Josh? I didn't quite hear.
By 45 minutes past 2.
Yep, that's great. Past is another way of saying it, or you could say after 45 minutes. I like past. That sounds good. Past 2. All right, that was a lot. So we talked about some of these were on the hour, some of these were on the half hour, some were on the quarter hour. That word quarter means like on one of the fourths. I'm gonna have to erase this. Don't panic if you didn't get it all written. It's okay. I'm not panicking, so I don't want you to panic either. Let's move on because of time. Get it? Because of time. All right, Abby's joining us. Let's look at page 180. Now you are going to draw the hands on the clock and then write the time on the digital clock. So the time is written in word form, so we have to read it first. So I'm going to just do, see, this is why I wanted you to hear other ways of saying it, because you can see 7:30, 15 minutes after 2. There's more than one way, and I want you to be able to understand it. So Lucas, can you read number 13 for us? What is the time?
9:15.
9:15. So the first, let's just write that down. We know it's 9:15 because that's what it says. We got that from the words. Now, can you kind of talk me through what I should draw on the analog clock?
Okay, so the hour hand should be on the 9.
Yes. So my shorter hand is going to be on the 9. Okay.
And then, wait, hold on. And then the big hand.
Can you start at the 12 and count by 5 till you get to 15 and see where you land?
It should be on the 2.
Let's count and double check that. Start at the 12. Ready? 5, 10. Uh-oh, we want 15. We need to go one more. 15. What I land on, Lucas?
The 3.
The 3. So now you want your minute hand on the 3. Make sure your minute hand is longer than your hour hand. All right, the next one. Max Duesberg, number 14. What does it say? Is he not here?
He should be.
I saw him earlier.
He was just a minute ago.
Max Duesberg, do you mind doing number 14 with me? What does it say, bud?
Maybe try saying his name one more time.
Max Duesberg, can you do number 14 with me?
He's thinking. Oh, Max, we couldn't hear you, buddy. Try again.
Headphones are plugged in.
So if it's 7:30, you would put the hour hand, you would put the minute hand at the 6, and the hour hand in the in between 8 and 7.
Okay, so you said you wanted me to put the minute hand on the 6 and the hour hand between the 7 and the 8, right?
Yeah.
And what time is that? What's another, how would I write that on my digital clock?
7:30.
Very good. How did you know to put that minute hand on the 6?
Because if you put a line half between
the 12 and the 6, it would be halfway around the clock.
Excellent. So 7:30, and half of 60 minutes would be 30 minutes. And because we're halfway past 7, that means that your hour hand should be halfway between the 7 and the 8, the 2 hours, right? All right, looking at, oh, this one's easy. You guys can do this so fast. 3 o'clock. Go for it. You guys do the next one. Do numbers. Go ahead and finish them. Go ahead and finish them. And then we're going to share our thinking.
I already finished them, Miss Aubin.
Good job.
I already finished all of them.
That makes me so proud.
Me too.
My 3.
All right, I'm going to still give everybody else another minute just to see what you can get done on your own without me guiding every step, and then we'll check our work. So go back and check your work. If you've already finished all of them, here's my challenge to you. Go back to those times and see if you can write down another way of saying it. Okay, that's my challenge. If you already did all 4 of those, go back and write down another way of saying those times. It might be hard for number 15. 3 o'clock is 3 o'clock. So do it for numbers 16, 17, and 18. Only if you have already finished. So Henry, can you go back and write those down for me, bud? Thank you. Take the challenge. Reese, go ahead and write them down in another way. Thank you.
Did it.
Good job.
Me too. Done. I finished the challenge.
That makes me very proud. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go over these answers and see how you did. So for the number 15, I think was pretty simple. It's straightforward, 3 o'clock. Your hour hand should have been pointing to the 3. Your minute hand should have been on the 12. Should be straighter than that. And you should have written 3 o'clock. For number 16, it said 7:30. So I would write 7 in my hour spot and 30 in my minute spot. Remembering what we did for number 14, right? It's the same thing. So my hour hand should have gone halfway between the 7 and the 8. My minute hand should have gone on the 6, because if I start at the 12 and count by 5s, I'm going to get 30 when I get to the 6. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Number 17, 1:45. I know it's a 1 in the hour hand and 45 is my minutes, but because it's 45 minutes after the 1, I know that it's getting close to 2 o'clock. So it's my hour hand's gonna be pointing closer to the 2 than the 1. Kind of hard to show on the smart board, but it should be pretty close to the 2 actually. And then I'm going to start at the 12, count by 5 till I get to 45 for my minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So now I know that my minute hand is going to be on the 9. Number 18, 15 minutes after 2. So that means the hour is 2, 15 is the minutes. My shorthand or hour hand is going to be pointing pretty close to that 2 because it's only 15 minutes after. Starting at the 12 for my minutes, I'm going to count by 5s till I get to 15. 5, 10, 15. My minute hand should be pointing to that 3. It should be longer than my hour hand. Let's see how you did. Give me a thumbs up if you got them. Thumb in the middle if you got some. Thumb down if you're like, I need to start over. Good job, August. I see you, Astria. I see you, Elena. All right, Jensen, we'll keep working. Did you get your hour hand and minute hand mixed up? No, you're just teasing. All right, let's not tease during this because this I take very seriously. I want to make sure. Ben, I see your thumb. Boy, I could see it really up close. Reese, I see yours. Abby, I don't see you, honey. I'm guessing your internet's giving you some trouble. How about you, Henry? How you feeling about telling time? We've gone to the quarter hour. Now we've done the on the hour and the half hour. Sunny's got a double thumbs up. Katie, you doing okay, my dear? Yeah? Oh, good. Henrik, how about you, sweetie?
He's having trouble hearing, so I don't know if he'll be able to.
Okay. All right. We're gonna skip this next part at the bottom. I don't have time right now. We're gonna look at telling time to the minute, which we also saw in our video. Was explained that each one of those tick marks represents 1 minute, and our clock face is divided into 60 of those. So now, some of these, are these are to the 5. Okay, we'll do a couple of these. We'll do 5 minute, and then it looks like I have to the actual minute. Okay, so let's go to page 181. There's so many of these that we can't possibly do them all. We'll do maybe the top row on this one, and then we'll look at the top row of the next one, and that should be good. So these are actually to the 5 minute instead of to the quarter hour, which is what we just looked at. The same thing we just did is what we're going to do now. The 2 steps that I told you. Look at the hour hand first. Where does it fall? What 2 numbers is it between? Make sure you pick the lower number because it's probably still within that hour. Then start at the 12. Count by 5s, just like our multiplication facts, we're counting by 5s. You could actually multiply that number that it's on by 5 and get your answer, but that we'll have to talk about as we move on. So let's count, look at the hour hand and then count by 5s and see if we can find out what time it is on these clocks. Number 20, I'm gonna do this one first. As I look at this, I see it's really close to the 9, but not quite. Since it's not on the 9, I have to go with the number below it. It is still in the 8 o'clock hour. Now, I'm not gonna write 8:11 because that's not how you find your minutes. That's a no-no. A lot of us think that would be really cool, but that does not make sense. This is not showing 11 minutes after the hour. It's showing all of these minutes till here. That's more than 11. What you have to do is realize that you got to count by 5s to find that answer. So get your hour hand first. Now, go to that 12 lyric. Are you ready? You're going to count by 5s till you get to the 11. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So the time is 8:55. Or how many more minutes until the next hour? There's only How many? 5 more, right? So I could even say 5 minutes till 9. You might hear your teacher say that. Oh, you guys, it's 5 to 3. We only have 40 minutes before the bell rings. That's where we're getting that from. Did anybody notice that anytime that minute hand is on one of these numbers, if you multiply by 5, you can get the answer? Think about it. This minute hand is on the 11. 11 times 5 equals 55. It's kind of a cool trick. All right, let's look at number 21. This time I want someone to do it with me. Lila Maris, let's do it.
So on number 21, you look at where the hour hand is, and it's super duper close to the 3, but it's still in the 2 section.
Great.
And then if you count from 15 to over where the 7 is, you'll get that number and then add 4.
What would the minutes be if I counted by 5s from 12 all the way to the 8? What would the minutes be?
The minutes would be 40.
And think about it. That minute hand is pointing to the 8, right? What's 8 times 5? Isn't 8 times 5 40?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like 8 groups of 5. Or you could say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So it's 2:40. Or 40 minutes after 2. Or, boy, there's so many ways to say it. 5, 10, 15, 20. 20 minutes till 3. I think about that a lot because I'm always thinking, how much time do I have to finish teaching this lesson? Or how much?
Speaking of that, Mrs. Alvin, I have a couple people who need to go. Can you just tell me what I don't want anyone else to go yet, but what pages you're ultimately trying to get finished today?
We're just going to look at these 2 and then page 182. We're going to do the top ones on that. And that's
Thank
it.
you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure they heard.
Yeah, and there's no exit ticket, but there's a Think Central assignment.
Thank you. Go back to what you were doing.
All right. I'm going to have you guys do the next 2 on your own. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Do your next 2 on your own, and then we're going to see how you did. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Go. And if you finish those and I haven't stopped, or if you already did them, do the next row. That's your challenge.
I already did the next row.
Then you can do the next row. Keep working on that page if you've done all of those.
I finished the whole page.
Josh, I think you are a great time teller. All right. Let's go over the last two that we're going to talk about today, and then we'll move on to the minute. So you should have noticed that the hour hand was between the 1 and the 2, much closer to the 1. It's still in the 1 o'clock hour. You could have looked at where the minute hand is on the 4 and multiplied by 5 and gotten 20. 4 times 5 equals 20. Or you could have counted by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. You should have gotten 1, 20, or maybe you said 20 after 1, or 40 minutes till 2, whatever floats your boat. And then the last one here that we're going to focus on, the hour hand is between the 3 and the 4, so it's still in the 3 o'clock hour. The minute hand is on the 7. If I multiply 7 times 5, I would get 35, but I want to double check that. Starting at the 12, I'm going to count by 5s till I get to that long minute hand. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Sure enough, it's 3:35 or 35 minutes after 3 or 25 minutes till 4. Okay, so those were all nice and easy because they were on the 5-minute mark. But time isn't always nice and easy. Often we see that we have to tell time to the minute. It's not just counting by 5s. But the good news is you guys know how to add on. You do it all the time when you're adding numbers. So look at page 182. You're still going to use your skill of counting by 5s, but then you're going to have to add on your minutes. Let me show you what I mean. Looking at number 34, I'm still going to think about where that hour hand is. It looks like it's on the 3, but it's a little bit before the 3, so it's in the 2 o'clock hour still. Even though I know it looks like, wow, it really looks like it's pointing to that 3. But I know that it's not because it's not quite 3 o'clock yet when I look at that minute hand. So now what I want you to do is the same thing as you did before. Go to the 11. You can count by 5s, or you could do 11 times 5 to get your minutes. I know 11 times 5 is 55, but I want to double check. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So this is 55 minutes after 2, but I see that there's another minute there. So I have to add that minute to the 55. So if I add one more to that, Sunny Poe, what would my minutes be?
$56.
You're so smart. So my time is 2:56. 2:56. Or I could say, there's only 4 more minutes until 3 o'clock. Or I could say 56 minutes after 2. Now I'm going to grab my workbook here because it is hard for me to see on the smartboard exactly where those lines are. I don't know if you guys are having trouble noticing it, but it's close. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. These minutes are really tiny. Okay, let's look at the next one together, and then I'll let you do the last 2, and we'll wrap things up. So looking at number 35, that hour hand, I'm going to always start with that hour hand. The short hand is between the 9 and the 10. It's in that 9 o'clock hour. It's not 10 o'clock yet. Then I'm going to go to the closest number that that minute hand would have been to, the 3. 3 times 5 equals 15, but I want to double check it. Count from the 12 by 5s. 5, 10, 15. But guess what? It's not on the 3. It's 2 of those little tick marks after it. And the tick marks represent your minutes. So I have to add 2 more of those. 1, 2. So 15 plus 2 is 17. So I know that this time is 9:17. Or in word form, I'm gonna write it out, 9:17. I could also say 17 minutes after 9, and that would work too. All right. So I'm gonna have you do the next two on your own, using those same strategies, counting by fives and adding on your ones. Look at that hour hand first. And if you finish those two and want to keep going, you don't have to stop. You can. I'm only going to give you a couple minutes and we'll check it. Go ahead and begin.
I already done that whole page.
Okay, so you guys don't even have to tell me that. Just hold tight. You only have 1 more minute, okay? So let's not interrupt everybody else. 1 more minute. You can check your work or write it in another way. All right. Let's see what you did. See how you did. You should have looked at the hour hand. It is halfway between the 4 and the 5, so it's in the 4 o'clock hour. Then your minute hand, if you start at the 12 and count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20. Looks like it's 2 more, 21, 22. Let me check the workbook, make sure I'm right on that. 182. Yep, I think that's right. You should have gotten 4:22. You could have written 22 minutes after 4. That would work too. All right. Looking at number 37, the hour hand is between the 8 and the 9. So you should have been in the 8 o'clock hour. Always go to the lower number when it's in between. And then looking at my minute hand, I start at the 12, count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. But I'm not going to stop at 30 because there's 2 more minutes to add. 31, 32. So you should have gotten 8:32. Okay, let's see how you did.
Thanks for telling me.
I'm very curious. I know some of you are feeling pretty confident in your time telling skills. Make sure you're checking your work to see if you actually did get them right. So show me on your thumbometer. Double thumbs. Wow, that's exciting. This went better than I expected. Madison, it was a lot today. We'll keep working next week. This is lesson 1. I understand. That was a lot of information. Finn, we'll keep working. Serne, you can always watch the video again. It'll be posted on Google Classroom. You can watch it again and then you can pause it as you watch it. That might help as well. All right, Elena, I see you. Okay, that was just
Abby should also go back and watch the beginning of the video since she missed the beginning.
Abby, if you can do that, that would be great because this is kind of the kickoff to the whole big idea of telling time. All right, so you can get some practice on Think Central 3.6. If you didn't get to do your quiz, let me just remind you, I need you to do that quiz for me. It's very, very important. So I already told you who those people are. And tomorrow, don't forget, it is a school day. You will not see Mrs. Harrison or I live unless you're doing your one-on-one DIBELS testing with us and your parents have signed you up for that. Other than that, I think you'll really enjoy that Friday Fun Choice Board. We had added the little stories from Mrs. Woodland and Miss Chris. There's things with Mrs. Ware. We went over all of that with you already. So enjoy that. Don't forget to fill out your Google form. And we will look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Bye.